the next question is from Honorable Member Vibhu Garg to the Honorable Minister for Child Welfare, to Dr. Sujakshi Haridas.
Thank you so much, Professor Vyas. Pranam, Swami Sir, and all the members present at the GEP. My warmest greetings from Geneva. We had our first snow this morning. So when we talk about children, my thought was that children are isolated, from their family members or from their school, and their only recourse is the online games as their leisure activity. So can is the child able to emotionally and physically develop by being in the virtual world? That's one point. And a thought about how can the life skills be learned by being in the virtual world or through online games? How can compassion be learned? How can we ensure that societal issues in different societies be understood by children through websites or conferences or games? And I know that many ministers have spoken about it. Swami Isa have spoken about prana in a very detailed way. So thank you, Minister, for looking into this question and query of mine. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, please.
Pranam Swamiji. Namaste to all. Om Namah. Thank you for raising such an excellent question. But the question is in steps, and so it's difficult for me to answer in this short time. But I'll try to answer to all the audio parts. The first part of your question, which comes, is can a child in his spare time develop physically and mentally and emotionally by visiting a virtual world? If I answer it in a single word, the answer will be no. We know that exposure to the blue light confuses the brain and it mimics the brightness of the sun. So this can cause the brain to stop producing melatonin. The amount of damage affects the functional activation of the prefrontal cortex of the brain. So the solution for this is by following the education for total consciousness methodology, where there is no question of any child being isolated or bored or to get on with his spare time. As the teacher regards the student as a part of his own self, and every lesson is turned into a project of group activity. Learning from the virtual world is far inferior to what is learned from the real experience. Now, the second part of your question, can life skills be learned through educational online games? My answer is positive physical, mental, emotional development is possible if the games which the child is playing have been created with that objective. If a positive effect is foreseen in a game, then it might be beneficial. But so far, nobody have made such an attempt on this. Life skills can be learned more effectively by direct interaction. Learning from the virtual world is only complementary. Now to the third part of your question, can compassion be learned online? Compassion is something which we can learn. Building this emotional ability can lead us to take an action to help those around us. Love, kindness, and meditation creates some changes in the brain structure, and this is not possible through online learning. For example, a little boy finds a wounded bird in the street. He picks it up, brings it home, and nurses it back to life. The same incident may be watched as a short film, which is likely to be forgotten very easily. And the fourth part of the question, can social issues be understood by children through website, etc.? So half the answer to this question is already explained. So how to turn the child into a responsible, productive member of the society? Many life skills usually need practical experience, and this is not possible through online games. The current set of online procedures like games, conferences, the child will not have positive physical, mental, emotional development, as many serious games, in inverted commas, are made with a profit motive. and they get profit by making the child getting addicted to that particular game. I think I have explained all your four questions in a nutshell, and I think you are happy with the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sujakshi Haridas. I'm thankful also to Vibhu Garg to put up this question. As the time is short, I will straight away go to the next question, which is from Honorable Member K.R. Bhavya to the Honorable Minister for Science and Technology, Dr. Christophe Dumas. Please, Honorable Member, put your question, please.
Namaste. My greetings to all the dignitaries. My question is, science seems to be developing more and more, and bigger models are going to use to develop scientific knowledge and prediction of behavior of climate or distribution of viruses. Is this really useful? Can bigger models generate a realistic scientific outcome? Or this might cause problems and dismiss the goal of science, which should help mankind to interconnect between disciplines and help understand bigger context. But instead, science is nowadays being one-sided and away from man itself. We can bring materials from other planets to Earth, but we are not considering how this may cause problems. Science seems to have lost a healthy humbleness that we don't know very much, that we don't connect to a whole context yet. So we are doing things without respect of our environment and in connection to ourselves. What can be done about this tendency?
Yes, Christophe.
Respected Speaker, Honorable Minister, Member of Parliament, and thank you, Madam Bhavya, for your good question. Comparative science is definitely making a very huge progress, and this progress is due to two things. The first thing is the hardware progress, and the second is the software progress. Computers are running very fast and faster, and quantum computing will bring a breakthrough in computing science. The software is also progressing very fast due to AI. But even with machine learning technology, AI is not capable to run out of the framework of the code. AI is executing a code, and a machine is not capable to extend its computational thoughts like human being is doing by intuition. The reason is that the machine don't have prana and don't have consciousness. Therefore, digitalization has a limit. And the second limit is that the current science is only used for material benefit. Digitalization is a very powerful tool. The user should act regarding his own knowledge and wisdom. One can use a knife for cutting an apple and eat, or kill someone. One example of digitalization is the biochips. If I ask you if it is relevant to use neuronal implants to make walking a tetraplegic, you will probably answer, yes, definitely. But if I ask you if it is relevant to use neuronal implant for making a super soldier, the answer will be probably no. More powerful the tool is, more careful we should be. Ethic rules should be included in AA programs. But regarding the local culture, we should be aware that what is considered as ethic by one country is not necessarily ethic by another one. And therefore, we need to have a scientific global definition of ethic. Ethic could be defined as acting with compassion for maintaining peace and harmony on Earth. But it is not a scientific definition, and the peace should be physical, intellectual, and emotional. And as Einstein explained, everything is energy, and the greatness of high theory is to use the quality of energy for defining physical, intellectual, emotional, ego, and ignorance and consciousness plan. High theory is also giving a clear definition of peace as a balancing state between positive and negative energy. In this balancing state, there is no separation between the subject, ourselves, and the object, the environment. We are only connected to the world. This is the education for total consciousness. So in conclusion, in order to answer this excellent question, I propose to make a resolution to set a global ethical science committee based on theory? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christophe Dumas. It was quite an interesting answer, and I believe it needs a good resolution to take forward the question. We shall go straight to the next question from the Honorable Member Valentina Concu to the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Professor V. Kumar Hirimpurkema, a friend who was there with us last year, and I was very happy to have met him here in Paris. Please, Professor, Minister, if you could reply to the question of our honorable member. Valentina, to you the floor.
This is my question. Digitalization of agriculture seems to help increasing the productivity, but what are the problems resulting when those methods lead to increased monoculture? Quantity is increasing, but what about quality? Permaculture or mixed culture may be displaced and discussed that there is no stable ecosystem anymore. Biodiversity decrease, also as monoculture is treatment with chemicals. But what we need is diversity to survive. The connection between man and plants, man and crops get totally lost. Man is giving energy in plants for positive food. Actual research proof and show this, that quality on different energy levels we get lost if man is giving the food production mainly in the heads of machine.
Please, Professor, Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran. The question is very long, but I have to give a short answer anyway. Now, the main parts of the question is digitization of agriculture. Now, as we all know, is unavoidable. Digitization is happening all over the world. It will come to agriculture also. It is already dominating in some parts of the agriculture. Now, the question has a part of monoculture. I understand it is more relevant to developed countries. I'm now speaking from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Countries like India and Sri Lanka, we have a lot of farmers. They don't concentrate in monoculture. Even a small farm field, there are many farmers do different types of cultivations. It's a good situation. Now, this digitization is required really not for poor farmers because they can't handle, mainly they can't handle, but governments have to use it because governments must plan farming communities, what type of cultivations government should give, soil quality data, fertilizer availability, and other aspects, especially organic agriculture, nature farming. There are so many areas because government has to organize all these. In developed countries, I understand large companies are involved. They are already digitized, especially chemical industry, agrochemicals and fertilizers, highly digitized all over the world, and they use markets like, unfortunately, it's like pharmaceutical industry. Agrochemical industry is also dangerous for the people, poisoning the people like pharmaceuticals. We overuse chemicals everywhere. So we have to think about those aspects also. But states, governments must regulate all these. The governments are there to regulate. So in that case, they have to use digital systems. Otherwise, they cannot fight with multinational companies because they have funds. They can use their funds for research and development. Is a good thing. Otherwise, we will not have research and development. But digitization has to be used by states, governments mainly, to provide facilities and services to manage systems all over the world, all countries, because some countries cannot afford, but many countries are always using, try to use it. Even India and Sri Lanka, large users are there, especially land management. Now, digitization is not new. It is something use of technology to do it in large scale and faster. Earlier, without digitization, we did everything, manage systems, but now we manage systems with digitization quickly, faster, in large scale, in the same way. So it's very important to go for that, but monocultures are not so good for future, because when we promote organic agriculture, we always say use multicultural types. It will naturally control insects and everything. No need of pesticides, even fertilizers, because soil will be enriched, soil biology will be improved, but it cannot solve the world food requirements. So I think these are the main ideas I want to give you. Anyway, cannot be avoided. We have to use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Agriculture Minister. And okay, then we go to the next question, which is from the Honorable Member, Suzanne Ziling-Zoskevich, to the Honorable Minister for Environment, Lady Carla Davis. Most welcome, Carla, to have you over here with us, and your opinion and your views are most welcome. Very please, Honorable Member, please put the question, please.
Greetings from Germany. My pranam to Swamiji, Honorable Speaker, respected Minister Lady Carla. My question is, in the course of advancing digitalization, it is often said that digitalization has enormous potential to advance environmental protection and enable resource-saving business practices, for example, through digital process optimization. But it is also said that digitalization itself is still a big energy consumer, which makes a contribution to climate change through massive power consumption and environmentally harmful mining conditions for rare resources such as lithium or other rare earth or metals, which are crucial for the construction of devices from smartphones, LEDs, for hybrid and electric motors, as well as magnets for wind turbines. So my question is, how can we utilize the opportunities provided by digitalization in an environmentally, socially, economically sustainable and harmonious way? Thank you.
Yes, most welcome, Honorable Minister Lady Carla. Please.
Namaste, Dr. Vyas and Suzanne. This is a very good question briefly, because it's very complex issues are involved. Digitalization has enormous potential in many areas, including the examples that you gave for environmental protection. That is why it is so rapidly invaded in every areas of our life. Trying to manage without some of our electronic devices would be very difficult in today's world. However, this technology also has some deadly flaws. In addition to massive power consumption, harmful environment mining conditions. Thus, we need to be aware with total consciousness. The biggest problem lies in the control of technology, how it is used, and what we are being told and not told about it, the lack of understanding of the I particle or total consciousness. Decentralizing control of technology helps to protect freedom, raises consciousness, eliminates problems, improves potential hazards, and maintain high standards. This is not always easy when big corporations gobble up all the small businesses. So whenever possible, support small local businesses. Much of today's digital technology is fairly new. Thus, it has not been properly tested for long-term safety or effects. Also, industries keep their negative findings secret and muzzle their employees with non-disclosure agreements. nor do they tell the truth about the pros and cons of their products. They will say anything or instill fear just to convince you to support what they are doing or buy what they are selling. They also have a lot of resources and media support because of advertising. Plus, these powerful industries have very strong influences with government decision makers because of PAC contributions they make to politicians and political parties. Also, they have their agents embedded in government regulatory agencies who will make decisions in their favor. To tackle these problems, we also need to address the individual causes of these problems. Boycotting their products may mean short-term sacrifices, but this provides leverage for safer, better outcomes. Corporations are only wealthy and powerful because we buy their products and our taxes fund their projects. Imagine if everyone stopped using drugs. We all need to pressure our representatives to legally put an end to the flood of financial influence pouring into corporate coffers. Also demand that Congress stop, or Parliament stop, the revolving doors between industry and government regulatory agencies. Industry, government, industry is corrupt at its worst. These technologies are monopolized or controlled by a few powerful corporations or individuals. Mining is a good example of how powerful industries can bring down a government that tries to address environmental issues or regulate their industry, as has been done in Australia numerous times. Viewing a mining site or fracking site reveals the horrendous amount of damage it does to the environment, the soil, the air, the groundwater, and health of nearby residents. Investigating it reveals even more shocking facts of pollution. The history of mining and fracking damage globally is appalling, and not much has changed. Poor countries are exploited, even worse. These issues can no longer be ignored. To protect humanity, everyone must do their part. This means using our economic power and making sacrifices or finding safer Wi-Fi. If humans are not willing to do what is necessary, to humanity as we know it will not survive. Humans are being corralled in their mobile phones, plus their personal digital data is being controlled, and everything they do is being documented. This is how humanity is being digitalized. Instead of hurting the following, following the narrative, think about the following criteria to protect yourself and the environment, or when using technology. Is it conducive to good health? Is it environmentally friendly? Is it a free market builder monopolized by AI or individual corruption, corporations, groups, or government or bank? It's not free market. If yes to any of these if the answer to any of these questions is no, then give it a pass. Recall how consumers improved fishing methods and helped save marine life when they boycotted tuna. The best way to force an industry to improve to close down, especially in the global energy parliament. We have to use our economic power and total consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lady Carla. In just 5 minutes, you covered up so many points. Congratulations for that. So we shall go straight away to the last question, which is from the Honorable Member, John Koshi, to the Honorable Minister for Culture, our dear friend, Dr. M.R. Thappan. Please, the question, please, from the Honorable Member.
Greetings all, respected dignitaries. My question is, there is a massive migration of art and culture from bodies, earth and edge to computer databases. What changes can we expect to the artist and to the consumer of art?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you for the relevant question today. We are witnessing the computer revolution. Its influence and corruption in all the sphere of life. For example, the commerce transferred into e-commerce, and the medicine transferred into this e-medicine, education transferred to education. There is a tremendous change. We have to accept this change. We can't avoid this change. But at the same time, we have to protect the values of our tradition. By protecting these values of our tradition, we have to accept this change. I remember the statement of Marshal Luckman. Luckman said in the 80s that we are going to the paperless world, and this book, print media, will die in the nearest future. But unfortunately, this McLuhan died in the 80s. But even after the 4 decades, this print media and these books are existing. So the views of my government is to protect our values, at the same time accept the changes. Thank you.
Yes, so we have come to the conclusion of our question answer session. And do you have some other questions from the audience?
Honorable Speaker, sir, we have a question by Mr. Dirk Seeling.
Yes, please. Honorable Member Dirk Seeling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to have the chance to ask a question. And greetings to India, to Swami Isha, and all members of the Global Energy Parliament. I have one, I think as we see, it is always the pros and cons of the digitalization are difficult to find out at the right stage of the topic to see if it is more benefit or if it is more risk in the technology. And I would like to ask, I don't know if it is possible for maybe to the Mr. Speaker, you have better the idea who can answer. How can we find out in the early stage if this technology is helping us and or if it is harming soul or the body of human beings? So how can we find out?
Yes, indeed, it's a very, very interesting question. I would say that only Swamiji could answer, who knows the dealings of the soul. But as far as we, on a general level, now the human beings, what I would suggest that we should all, by our daily life, by our aspiration, develop our consciousness, which is higher than the actual consciousness, which I would say that we have evolved from the matter, from the stone to the living being, and from the living being, we came from this living being came to the animalhood to the manhood. But the man at present is not yet a real human being who is evolved. It's more of an animal man. So this animal man needs to change to man, and then to go towards the man divine. That is, say, the consciousness of the human being should increase. There is a two-dimensional consciousness of certain animals. We have three-dimensional consciousness, whereas all the saints and all the rishis and all the yogis, they speak to us of multi-dimension. And this consciousness, if it can develop, and that could be done by what, in general, in India, we call it yoga. Yoga doesn't mean just exercises, but the whole human being which takes part. And naturally, unless we can know our own self, knowing just the body is not a solution. Knowing just the environment, earth, that's not the solution. So we need to go towards that side within. And naturally, at present, I would say the digital or the virtual thing is a help. At the same time, it is a barrier. It stops us from many things. It does hurt us But at the same time, for example, at present we are meeting, 25 countries are meeting. So why not this way, in all the sides, we meet soul to soul, we evolve together and go towards the better ones, the enlightened souls, the enlightened places, the enlightened, that's where the light is there, that is the place. Where the earth is aspiring, that is the thing. And instead of letting this multinational, multi-powers, only the rich people, only the finance governing us, let the soul and the spiritual energy govern us. And I believe that is how we'll be able to help. But as I said in the beginning, as far as this question is concerned, it would have more befitting to ask Swamiji to answer. I do not know if that is possible at present, but that is my request.